Hello everyone. Today I just thought of a cool idea, and this is to review my first ever game on chess.com. So if you want to see how bad I played and me review and the good analysis of it, then be sure to watch till the end of the video. So let's start this analysis. So I played e4. My opponent played the Scandinavian, and he played knight c3, and he went queen d6. And I went knight after just developing my pieces. And then he played a6. I actually didn't know what this move does, but I assume I think but I'm assuming it's to go b5, and I castled. And after b5, I went bishop to e2, which right now it seems like a bad move to me. Right now, I'll just go bishop b3, and if he goes a5, then I'll go a3 or a4. A3 is a better move. Wait, yeah, A3 is a better move, but I don't know why I went bishop E2. I was low rated, okay? And he went bishop G4, which doesn't even do anything basically, because it doesn't pin my knight to my queen, because my bishop's on E2. And I went H3, then he slid his bishop back to F5. And I went B4, okay? And hanging up a pawn right over here. But instead he played G6. And then he took my pawn. And here I wanted my bishop. And I went knight d4. No, normally, I, I try to bring my rook out by going rook e1. But I went knight d4, okay? He went e5, then I traded. And then over here, I wanted to trade queen. I don't even know why I did this. Queen to b1. What a great move. He took my queen and I took back. Rook b1. Okay. No more rook b1. Okay, he took my free pawn. I went rook a1 back. And he went bishop c5. I went bishop f3, which he can just go e4. But instead he went rook a7. And I went rook e1. And he went e4 now. And I went d3. Because this pawn is pinned. And he went king f8, trying to unpin that pawn. And I took, and he took back. And then I took with the bishop. I don't even know why I took with the bishop. Right now, I'll just take with the knight, but okay, I took with the bishop. And he went b4. And I went knight d5, trying to trade even more pieces even though I'm losing. He went knight to d7, not trading pieces. And now I went bishop to f5. And he went knight to b6, trying to trade the knight. And I traded. And I went rook e2, trying to double up on the e file. And he went king to g7, trying to bring his rook into the game. And I went rook e3, blundering my rook from the bishop. And my opponent went king to f6, attacking my bishop without knowing that my rook is hanging. And I thought that my rook is hanging, and I went rook f3. He went king g7 back. Then I went rook g3 check, wasting time. And I hung my rook again. And he went rook a8 back. And I went bishop b4, pinning the knight to the rook. And he moved his knight out of the way, and I took his rook. And then he went knight to g8. Right now, I try to check him and put more pressure on his king, but instead I went c3, making the position equal again. And he went b3, trying to sneak his pawn through here, but now I'm winning because I can just attack this pawn, and which I did. And keep in mind, the rook is still hanging, but he went h6, and then I took this pawn. He went bishop to a7, and moving his bishop this way instead of moving it over here to take my rook. and I went Rookie 1. I don't know why I went that Rookie 1, but I may have saw that attack on my Rook, but I don't know if I saw it. I don't think I saw it. And he went Rook A7, H7, and I went C4, and he went C5, blocking my pawn from being pushed, and also blocking the bishop. And I went Rook E3, and he went Knight to F6, and I went Rook E7, bringing my Rook on to 7th rank. And he went King to G7, blundering his bishop in one move, which I took. And then he went Rook H8, and I went Rook E7, attacking the F7 pawn, which he did not defend. And instead of taking the F7 pawn, which was a better move, I took the wrong pawn. And he went Rook D8, and I went Bishop to C6. He went Knight to H5, which does nothing. And I took the C5 pawn. And he went Knight to F4. And I went Bishop to D5, trying to trade. But instead he went Knight to D3, attacking my Rook. And I first took the F7 pawn. And then I blundered my Rook, which he didn't take. And then I went Bishop to F7 check. King to G7, Bishop D5 back. Rook E8, Bishop to C3, Rook E1 check. And then I pinned the knight to the rook. And over here, it's an obvious move. Just go Rook C to E5, and you win this knight. But instead, I took the free pawn, because it was free. And he went King to G6, and now I pinned the knight. And I won the knight. And then I promoted to a rook. Because this time I just learned the king and rook checkmate. And I really wanted to try it out. So, yeah. And I blundered the rook on purpose. And then I also blundered my bishop on purpose. Because I wanted to do king and rook checkmate. Okay, so I'm doing everything correctly right now. And he's moving his king to the corner, which is actually helping me a lot. And checkmate. This is the second game of my game history on chess.com that I'd also like to analyze. So let's get right in. And I was black. So d4, d5, bishop f4. And he's playing the London system, which you can tell. I went bishop e7, even though I normally would go bishop d6, because it's more active, but I was 500, okay? So I went bishop e7, and he went c3, I castled, knight d2, and knight a5, blundering my knight, because queen takes knight. But instead he went queen to b3, and I took the bishop, and he took back. And I went bishop d6, and he took my free b7 pawn. And I went knight to a5, queen to b5, and then I went queen to b8, which I did in the first game also, where I went queen to b1. Then he just took my knight for free. Queen takes b2, and he went rook b1, and I resigned. Thanks for watching, and if you want me to do this kind of video again, then make sure to like and subscribe so I can create more educational content and review my first ever game that I've played.